This is the Digital Marketing Experts Podcast episode. No, why am I trying to sound like a radio announcer? Experts in the Wire, episode 21. Rick Mulready. Hey everyone out there on the wire, welcome to episode 21 of Experts on the Wire. So, if you've been following along or maybe you're a new listener, welcome. This show is really going to grow and evolve as we go. You know, we're now into episode 21. So, when we started, now I was brand new to podcasting, so I'm kind of learning a lot as I go. I've had experience in audio production, but not podcasting. In fact, the music in this show I created, but podcasting is something totally new to me. So, you know, we're kind of realizing the mission of this show as we go as well. Not only do I want you to learn about facts and topics and strategies and marketing things, but I'm seeing the value of the show being that I can help connect you with people that are not only experts, but they are great communicators and they genuinely want to help you. So what's been really cool is seeing listeners of this show give shout outs to some of the guests on Twitter. And then many times those guests will respond. They will reply to your question. They will favorite that tweet that you put out there, thanking them for being on the show. And it's been cool seeing people develop those connections. So to further that connection, I have started an email list. Now, this is not your typical email list where I'm going to blast you with things to sell you. Send an email every time a new episode comes out. You can find the new episodes in iTunes or Stitcher when they publish. I'm not worried about that. This email list is only for one thing right now, and that's to tell you ahead of time before anybody else knows who is going to be on the show. I'm going to tell you before I even interview them because I am going to give you the opportunity to submit questions to ask to some of the guests. I will read those questions to the guests on the show, and then they will answer your specific questions. So I won't do this for every episode. As you know, there's 2 episodes a week, so that might be a lot of emails, but probably, you know, a couple times a month, 2, 3, 4 times a month, maybe I'll send just a quick email giving you exclusive access to who's going to be on ahead of time and give you a chance to submit a question. I'll probably take a couple of those questions for each show. So go to evolvingseo.com/wire, where you can find a form to sign up on the email list. Just a simple little MailChimp form. Shout out to MailChimp. I love them as a tool. And basically anywhere on the blog or podcast area of the website will have the form to sign up. So, you know, we spend a lot of time choosing guests. You know, this next guest that I have on the show today, Rick Mulready, I remember very clearly. I didn't know Rick. I was just researching conferences and events and things because I figure those are great. Those are people that are out there. They are good at communicating. They want to share things. And I stumbled upon Rick's profile and his website. And when I saw that Rick runs not only one, but has run 2 podcasts of his own, which you should definitely go check out, Inside Social Media, and his current one, The Art of Paid Traffic. And he just genuinely is putting information out there because he wants to help people, especially with Facebook advertising. I knew I had to have Rick on the show. So I instantly sent him a direct message on Twitter and we scheduled the interview. So Rick's going to talk about what it was like working in advertising in corporate America. He actually did some work for the show Funny or Die. We chat about that. But then we're mostly going to get into the land grab opportunity that there is for Facebook video ads right now. Not just regular Facebook ads with images, but Facebook video ads. There's still not a lot of people doing this. It's a little harder to do, takes a little bit more thought. It's kind of new, so people a little shy to get into it, but Rick's going to break it all down very clearly for you, step by step, and tell you exactly what you need to know to run your own Facebook video ads, which I hope provides a lot of value. Make sure to sign up for the email list if you want advance notice of who's going to be on the show. And I hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Rick Mulready. Rick, thank you so much for taking the time to have a conversation with me today, mostly about Facebook ads, but I wanted to jump back and start and talk about where you came from in the world of marketing. So I read on your About page, which we'll link to in the show notes, that you kind of had your start in the corporate world. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. First, thanks so much for having me on, Dan. I really appreciate it. I come from that corporate online advertising background. So I started at AOL back in what I like to call the Wild West days of the internet, back in 2000, when pretty much anything was going on the internet. And I spent 5 years there. I co-ran the advertising operations team, which basically means we had a team that implemented all of the advertising deals that were being sold by the sales team. And so did that for about 5 years. And then I moved out here to the West Coast and went to work for Yahoo for a couple of years. And I was managing ad accounts at that point, and then transitioned into selling the online advertising, because I figured I quickly realized that was where it was at. That was where the money was. That was where, really the fun was, and did that for a couple of years. Then I went over to run the Southern California office for another advertising company, online advertising company, and then got recruited from there to go work for Funny or Die, which is Will Ferrell's company. And so that was over about a 12-year span. And, the cool thing about that was I was working with all different forms of online advertising, whether it was banner ads, video, text links, search, you name it. I did it over that 12-year period. And then, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but in 2010, I got kind of bit by the Facebook ads bug and started to dive in at that point and teach myself as much as I possibly could. But yeah, I left the corporate world at the end of 2012 to start focusing on building my own business.
I saw that you had met Will Ferrell a couple of times, and I just had to ask about that. Was he cool? Was he nice?
Super cool. He's a great guy, and he really truly is as funny in person as like you see him on TV and in the movies. Yeah. But even more so for me, I mean, he was super, super nice. Very outgoing, very giving, just like he never, it wasn't one of those kind of snotty sort of stuck up movie stars. He was great. I was really, really, really impressed and really fortunate that I was able to hang out with him a couple times.
That's awesome. And how did you like the corporate world? Do you have mixed feelings about it? Did you leave it because you didn't like it, or you left it just because you saw like an opportunity somewhere else?
I have a hard time working for somebody else. I have a hard time taking direction from someone for their initiative. I am very much the type of person that wants to do my own thing and create my own thing and be working on the projects that I want to be working on that help the people that I want to be helping. Now, with that said, the corporate world is great for a while. I really enjoyed it. I learned a ton from it. But then right around 2010, I really did get sort of bitten by that entrepreneurial bug where I was like, you know what, I'd like to go out and do something on my own here where I have the freedom, sort of the cliche that you hear everybody say, like, I want to have freedom in my life to do things when I want to do them. And that was kind of what started for me in 2010. So I started to work on, okay, what does the plan look like for me to start my own thing, number one, and also transition out of the corporate world, taking care of savings and debt and all that stuff so that I was in a good position. So, it wasn't that I didn't like the corporate world. I felt like there was a bigger opportunity out there for me. And, that's really why I wanted to leave the corporate world.
Yeah, I can totally empathize with not wanting to, or not working well, being responsible to somebody else or trying to drive their initiative. Can totally relate to that. So I want to jump kind of into the topic of Facebook ads. This is why I wanted to interview on the show, because I think, as you obviously believe, the power of Facebook ads is just enormous. And so I wanted to get into that a little bit. So you kind of mentioned that you got into Facebook ads around 2010. In my mind, that's kind of early. Like, when did the ad platform launch? And I guess, how did you discover the ad platform?
I don't actually know exactly when it launched. It was early. I mean, these are the days back when there was very little content out there to help you with it. Not a lot of people were talking about it as far as helpful videos or how-tos or anything like that. And this is also back in the day when it was just that little image and the little bit of text on the right-hand column of your Facebook page, and that was it. The targeting was really, really basic at that time. It was just the, ability to target other fan pages and so forth. Of course, we can do that now, but I mean, we have so many other targeting opportunities these days. But yeah, that was really early. And that's why it was a lot of trial and error. There, like I said, there wasn't a lot of content out there that kind of taught you what to do. Facebook had a little bit of, helpful stuff, but it really wasn't a whole lot. And so when I was diving in at that point, that early stage, there really was a lot of testing, trying to figure out, what I needed to do, what kind of images caught attention. That was back in the day of like, all right, red border around the image and you're good to go. Yeah. You're catching attention. So yeah, it was really early on. But I like that because it allowed me to kind of start from a place of, all right, I know nothing about this platform. And I know nothing about how it works. I mean, I get that I can target people, but when it came down to like the specifics on how to get these things working, we didn't have pixels back then. It was really hard to figure out how well your ads were doing from an ROI perspective. But, that experience allowed me to kind of really dive into it, teach myself as much as I possibly could, and then finally start to see some success from there.
And were you creating ads for yourself or for other people? What were you first creating ads for?
Yeah, I started creating ads I had some friends who were online entrepreneurs, and they were running promotions and selling some things. And so I started out that way, running ads for them. And it went into it with from a standpoint of, look, like, I'm just learning this stuff. I want to test some things out for you. They were cool with that. And then once I started to get traction and learn what was working and what wasn't working, then I created an ebook, how to get started with Facebook ads. This is, again, way back at that point, I think it was like 2011. It was like a $47 ebook. So then I started running ads, super meta here, so running ads for my Facebook ads for ebook. So in conjunction between that and then running ads for my friends and their businesses, that's really where the experience came from back then.
Awesome. So let's get into some of the tactics and the strategies for Facebook ads. So the goal of my podcast is similar to your podcast as well, which we'll talk about later, is really to educate the listeners for people that want to maybe get into Facebook ads or kind of do it themselves, or maybe they're working in a company that's trying to kind of embark on ad platforms. Can you first just set up and define what we mean by ad, and then maybe contrast that to boosting? And I know you've said, and people agree, that boosting can be a waste of money. So can you define ad and then contrast those two things?
Yeah, sure. Well, so defining an ad, I mean, just the definition of an ad is a piece of content that you pay for. So you get something into the newsfeed. So you create what looks like a Facebook post, and you're paying for that to be seen within people's newsfeed. So you set up a targeting audience that you want to show your ad to. The basic type of ad has a regular image. It's going to have a headline below the image. It's going to have some ad copy above the image itself. And then it clicks through to a landing page, whatever that might be, an opt-in page, registration page, a blog post, whatever that might be. So that's sort of like the regular basic definition of an ad. Now we're talking about boosting a post. That is when you post something onto your Facebook page, and then Facebook has that lovely little boost post button right below where you post that on your page. Yeah. And what that is doing is that is a form of advertising, number one. And Facebook makes it very easy to spend your money that way. Yep. And the issue that I have with it is that a lot of people, I was just having a conversation with somebody this morning about this, and the issue I have with it is when most people boost a post or click that boost post button, the reason that they're doing it is that they simply want more people to see that post. They want more of their fans to see that post, or maybe they're even targeting an additional audience with that. But that's it. Like, that's the only objective that they have. I just want more people to see it. Well, that's really where I think that's really where the flaw is, because if you're spending money on your ad, you should have at least some strategy to make that money back. Have an objective so that if I'm spending $5, $10, $100, that I have some way of making that back at some point. The thing that people fall into, though, is they boost they have a post on their Facebook page, and it's, I don't know what it is. It's whatever it is. It maybe has no objective there. They're just posting it to announce something to their Facebook audience, but then they click the boost post button and there's really no objective. There's really no goal behind it. So that's the biggest thing biggest issue I have with boosting a post. Facebook has come a long way in sort of lessening the gap of what you can do with a boosted post, meaning the targeting, the budget, and all that stuff. They have lessened that gap, but I would much rather see somebody, if they have if they're posting something that is promoting something on their Facebook page, I'd much rather them go over to Power Editor, which is one of Facebook's ads platforms, and then turn that post into an ad, and then you have you have Facebook's entire host of opportunities, targeting, and budget, and all that stuff to get that ad out there. So I'd rather see people do that.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So all the listeners out there, you've heard Rick. Don't boost a post. It can be a waste of money. So I wanted to ask quickly too, is Facebook ads for anybody, or are there like specific like people or companies or situations that you would say this applies to?
It's a great question. I think we have to start there, is that there's over 1.6 billion people on Facebook, over 1 billion of which are on there every day. So what does that mean? For most companies, your audience is going to be there. That's a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
And so we just have to find those people. And, one question I get all the time is from like a B2B company. So if they're like, well, I'm a business to business company, so this isn't going to work because all we hear is, business B2C, business to consumer for Facebook ads. That is not true, because when it comes to B2B, for example, it comes down to the target, like your target audience, and then the offer that you're making to that specific target audience. So for example, if I want to reach, marketing managers at, specific types of companies, I can do that. That's really, really powerful. And so, I would say for someone that this isn't going to work for, I'm trying to think of it like just a niche off the top of my head that it wouldn't work for. And I really can't do that. If you're selling a product or a service, it all comes down to understanding how to use the platform in order to achieve that objective, in order to sell more of your products or services. Now, what a lot of people get caught up in is that they want to make money immediately. They want to launch their Facebook ad, and within 3 days, they want to be making money from it, when we have to be looking at it from a longer term play. Because Facebook is a platform where people are on there to, share with their friends and family. It's not like Google, where they're actually physically searching for something. You have to catch their attention on Facebook and then start to build that relationship with them. And you do that by offering free value to them, whether it's a blog post or a podcast episode, a free webinar, some sort of training, whatever it might be, and build a relationship from there. Build your email list so that you can have that so you can be emailing them, building that relationship with them, and then selling once you've established that relationship with them. So it really comes down to, regardless of whatever kind of niche or industry that you're in, looking at it that way. I'm trying to think of some of the niches of people that I have in my course, and I have one guy who he's in like the sustainable energy field. It's like one of those fields that you would never think that would work on Facebook, but he kills it on Facebook. It just really comes down to testing different offers and leveraging Facebook's amazing targeting opportunities to reach your target customer. Really, and not to go on a tangent, but I like what you just said there. So do you know what he's doing, what type of ads and what type of content he's sending people to? I do. He's testing different things out, but the way that he sells his, he sells a higher end coaching service. Mm-hmm. And so he sends people to a webinar. And then from that webinar, he sends people into a free strategy session, and then the strategy session that he sells into his coaching. I know he's tested a couple of tweaks to that sales funnel, but he's done extremely well with it. So the lesson there is that he's not going from Facebook ad to high ticket coaching. He's going from Facebook ad to the webinar. So he's offering value, helping people there. And then from the webinar, then there's another free opportunity to jump on a strategy call with him. And then he's learning more about their business at that point. and maybe making some suggestions on how we can help them out. And then also from there, then offering the opportunity to join him in a longer term coaching. I also think he does, I think like a half day coaching that's online as well. So there's different ways that you can, alter the sales funnel there. But yeah, I mean, it's a niche that you would not think would work very well on Facebook, but he does extremely well. And he's been doing a good job with it for the better part of like 2 years now.
Yeah, that's a great example. One niche that popped in my head was, what if you're a musician or a band? Can it even apply to like things like that too?
Absolutely. It all comes down to what is your goal? That's the first question I ask people is, too many people tell me, well, I hear that my friends are doing Facebook ads, or I keep hearing how great they are. So I decided to do them for my business, and well, without a clear objective, and that's a really quick way to lose money, because it's those people who are going to start doing Facebook ads without a clear objective of what they want to achieve, and be disappointed by the results that they're getting, and then all of a sudden give up after a few weeks and say, oh, Facebook ads don't work. You've got to have a clear objective. So if you're a band, what is your objective? Is it to sell? Is it to get people to iTunes to download more of your songs? Is it to get people to a live event that you're doing? Just depends on what that is, and then setting up your ads accordingly, because then you can get really specific with your targeting. So, if you're not already, if you're a big band, for example, you're likely an opportunity to target your fans in Facebook already, or you can target people who have interest in similar genres of music, that you're playing. So there's a lot of different opportunities there, but it really does come down to being really clear on what you want to accomplish. Is it getting people to a concert? Is it getting people to buy more of your music? Maybe it's getting people to the shopping page on your website where you're selling gear and t-shirts and stuff like that. It just really depends on what your objective is.
Absolutely. So I know the ad platform offers a variety of options. Like you can use video, you can use carousel ads, you can just have an image. Can you maybe just quickly break down the different kind of types of ads? And then I want to jump specifically into video.
Sure. So you have your standard image ad, which is what you see mostly on Facebook, which is the pixel size is 1200 by 628. It's the image plus the ad copy, the text above the image, and then you have a headline below the image, and you can have like a call to action button there on the ad itself. So that's your standard image ad. You mentioned video. So video, as we'll get into here, huge play for Facebook this year. So you can upload video directly to Facebook and then turn that into an ad, super effective, which we can talk about here in a second. You mentioned carousel ads. So for most people, the limit is up to 5 images. I have seen and heard that Facebook is testing different amounts of images that you can use. For most of us, and myself included, we can do up to 5 images that we can rotate through. It's sort of like it carousels through, just as the name suggests, it carousels through the ads so that people can kind of rotate through different images. So this would be cool if you are like an e-commerce business, for example. You could have different products in there, and each one of those images has its own headline and has its own destination page. So if you're, I was talking to somebody this morning, one of my students this morning, and they have an e-commerce business, and they were talking about, I think it was like activewear, so they have an image that goes to like leggings, for example, and then another image that goes to like a shorts page or something on their website. So, and a carousel ad is really interesting because you can get creative with it, where, like I said, you can target, or you can send people to specific pages on your website. Maybe you can have testimonials from some of your customers and profile, like have an image of your customer in there that sends them to your testimonials page. You can have videos in there. So carousel ads are interesting depending on what type of business that you have. And then from there, what am I missing? We have our standard image ad, we have our video ad, and there's different types of ads from there as far as what your objective is. You have like local business types of ads, but those are the 3 main. I know I'm missing something as we're talking here. I'll think of it, but those are the main 3 types of ads that you want to be concerned with.
Awesome. Yeah. So when it comes to video, is it similar to a regular image ad, except the image now is replaced by a video, but everything else is like, so is it a click to a website and you can put text and everything else is the same?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the big things that sort of trips people up when they're using video is that one of the objectives that you can use is called video views. And people think like, oh, well, I'm using a video, so I have to use this objective. Well, that's not true. Video views is essentially whatever objective that you choose, you're telling Facebook, all right, Facebook, show my ad to as many people in the target audience that I'm about to set up here who are most likely to take this action, whatever this is. It's based on your objective. So if you're choosing video views, you're telling Facebook, all I care about is for people to watch the video. That's all I care about. When in reality, again, I had a call with some of my students this morning. This exact scenario came up where he was using a video, but his ultimate objective was to get people to his website, not to do a conversion. He was just trying to drive simply to his website because he was a local business. And so you want to choose the objective that most aligns with what you're trying to get people to do. So what we did was I told him to switch the objective from video views to clicks to website, because that's the objective that he really wants people to do. So even though he's using a video, then he's using an objective that is not video views, it's clicks to website. Likewise, if your objective is to get people to convert on your website or on your landing page, then you'd want to use website conversions as your objective, even with using the video. But yeah, video is really, really powerful. I think the number is right now 100 million hours of video is being consumed on Facebook every day.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot of video. So video has, or Facebook, I should say, has really put a high emphasis, on video on the platform. It understands the opportunity there. It's trying to take ad dollars away from TV with the big advertisers. So video is if you're not testing video in your ads, you're missing a huge opportunity to get some really, really high performing ads.
That's amazing. So I have so many questions about this now. Is there a danger in posting the ad with video, somebody clicking the video to watch it and then just not clicking the ad because they, like an image ad, when it pops up, it's just a click, there's nothing else to do, but the video is almost like another step between them watching that and the click.
Sure.
Is that kind of friction there, or is that am I just making that up in my head?
Well, no, I mean, that's a real thing, but it really comes down to how compelling is your video. Video allows you to connect with your target audience there on a level that you can't with your standard image ad. And so, if your video is good, and let's just say you're teaching something in your video and you're like, for more of this, or whatever you're saying in your video, for more of this, click, go to this link, or click the image here, click the video here to go to the landing page. And so that's where you're going to get more information. The cool thing about another cool thing about video is that Facebook has done a really good job of giving us stats and metrics to use to make decisions on how well our video is performing. So for example, we can choose to look at the average duration of how long somebody's watching our video. And we can break that down into like percentage or the number of seconds. So if my video, let's just say, is 2.5 minutes long, and I can see the average duration that people are watching it is 45 seconds, when I haven't even given the call to action in my video, I know that people aren't even reaching the call to action at that point. So that tells me that there's a disconnect either with the audience that I'm reaching with that video, or maybe maybe the target audience is spot on, but yet the content of the video is not very good. So you can use that information to make those decisions. Now, I do recommend, talking about is there, sort of a hurdle that we need to get over when we're using video like that. I recommend testing both. So if you're split testing, test an image ad and a video ad to the same audience and see which one performs better.
Got it. So is there a maximum length to the video, by the way?
Off top, they just changed this recently, and I'm blanking on what it is. I've seen, the bottom line with the video, everyone always asks, like, how long should my video be?
Yeah.
I've seen videos perform extremely well that are 9+ minutes long. I've seen videos perform that are good that are like 90 seconds long. Yeah. I've heard about others that are like 30 plus minutes long, where it's like a complete training video. And keep in mind that if someone's watching your whole video like that, they're super qualified. So your cost per lead might be a little bit higher at that point, but they're a far more qualified lead at that point because they've spent so much time watching your content. And so the answer to the question of how long should my video be, it should be as long as it needs to be in order to get your point across.
Right. Yeah. I love that philosophy. So that the cost brings up a question too. Are they charging by CPC for this? Are you being charged by clicks to the website if that's the goal of the ad?
Yeah. Well, it depends again on what your objective is. So if it's, clicks to website, you can choose to, you have the option when in the pricing and optimization section to change that over to being charged per click, for example, or, the first option when you do that, or when you choose what any of the objective is it defaults to Facebook is going to get you as many of whatever you've chosen for your objective, as many clicks, as many conversions, as many views, whatever it might be, for the budget that you have allowed. And that's generally the optimization option, the pricing option that I recommend and have seen the best results, because you're letting Facebook's algorithm do the work for you and try to get you the best results. Regardless of what most people say out there, Facebook really does want you to succeed with your Facebook ads, because the more successful that you are, the more money that you're going to be spending with them. So, the idea is to let Facebook's algorithm do the work for you and try to get the best results for you within the budget that you're spending.
Got it. So you can, this might be a dumb question, but you can create the video any way you want, right? You can use your phone. It could be a screencast, like it could be any type of video. And do you have, is there like format requirements when you upload it for like the file type or?
Yeah, there is. And if you just Google Facebook ad specs or Facebook advertising specs, they'll break it all down for you, all the different, the technical specs for the video format. That's another question that people ask is, well, do I need to be in front of the camera? Because I don't like being in front of the camera, that sort of thing. Well, you don't need to be in front of the camera. You can do just a screen share of a keynote presentation or something like that. But keep in mind, it goes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, where the platform, Facebook is a platform where people are sharing, it's a casual platform. People are sharing with their friends and family updates, pictures, videos, and so forth. So if you can be in front of the camera to at least start out the video, people are going to connect with you more quickly, and you're likely going to see a higher performance there. Now, again, this comes down to testing. Like, I would test both, but yes, you can absolutely do screen shares of your, if it's a presentation of some sort. But I do recommend trying to be at least in front of the camera for a minute or two at the beginning of the presentation. And grab your smartphone. I mean, the video cameras in our smartphones are really high quality these days. So don't let that be an obstacle for you from doing a video ad.
So in your post, which I'm going to link to in the show notes, is rickmulready.com/Facebook video ads. I think you mentioned that the video ad is silent at first. Is that true? So do you have any recommendations for how people creating these video ads can kind of navigate around that?
Yeah. So what we're talking about here is, so the video, as I'm sure that you've, realized when you're on your own Facebook page and or in your Facebook news feed, you see a video come across, it's auto playing. So it's automatically playing when it comes into your news feed, but it's silenced. It's not playing. It doesn't have any sound. So the idea is to get the attention of your target audience within those first, say, 10 seconds or so visually. You've got to get that, don't give away your best stuff in the first 10 seconds. If you're talking, you've got to get them to tap that video, tap the screen if they're on their mobile device, or if they're on the desktop, actually click the mute button so that they can hear you. So that's the first thing. Get their attention visually within those first 10 seconds or so. That could be something like having a message at the bottom of the screen, like tap to listen, or unmute to so you don't miss this or something like that. You could have a call out to your target audience so that you're speaking directly. So if it's your exact target, let's just say, I don't know, small business owners, just super general. But if I'm reaching small business owners, I could have small business owners, along the bottom of the video to catch their attention. You could be tapping to your ear. There's all different ways, like you could visually get their attention to listen to the video. And I do want to say that Facebook is rolling out right now a really cool functionality. So what they're doing with video now is you have the option to I forget what the button's called. It used to be an SRT file. So meaning like I could transcribe the video and then upload that into Facebook, and then Facebook would show the transcription of what you're saying. It would caption your videos along the bottom. And that's a great way to get people interested and engaged in your video, because that way they're not only watching your video maybe on silent, but they're also able to read what you're saying. Well, Facebook is taking that in-house now and giving you the option to caption your video. So they'll do it for you now. And they're rolling that functionality out right now. And I think that's going to be a huge game changer for these video ads.
Wow, very cool. So yet another reason people should be exploring and at least testing video ads in Facebook. I love it. So I wanted to ask, it sounds like the content or the landing page really needs to align with the video ad. So is that true? Or can you take so one thing that we'll do sometimes for clients is take a piece of content that already exists and just come up with an ad for it to promote that content, an image ad.
Yep.
Does that apply, do you think, to video, or does this really need to be more thought out, like in terms of the whole process?
Well, you always want consistency between the ad and the landing page. And when we're talking consistency, we're talking language used, like is that whatever the copy they're using in the ad itself should be consistent with the landing page. If there's a color scheme, if there's specific images, like if it's you in the video itself, then it would be a good idea to have some sort of image of you on the landing page so that people can make that connection. Whenever we're talking the similarity between ad and landing page, we always want to be thinking about, all right, if somebody clicks on our ad, we want to make sure that they're comfortable with and that they know that they're in the right place. Like, I didn't click on some random page here. I don't know how I got here. You want to make sure there's consistency between that ad and the landing page. And that really goes with any ad that you're doing, whether it's a video ad or an image ad. So if you're promoting, like you just mentioned, Dan, if you're promoting content, you might want to, and there's an image on that content page, you might want to maybe have that image in your ad itself as well. So there's consistency between the branding of when they click on the ad and then on the landing page itself.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. Lastly, just to tie up the video ad topic, do you have any examples of a great Facebook video ad that you've seen run in the past?
I have a friend of mine actually who has a country line dancing YouTube channel.
Really?
And yeah, he's done an amazing job building it up really quickly. And he runs video ads to get people to not only subscribe to his YouTube channel, but he also gives away like a free, like a how-to guide. And he gets like 50 cent leads or something like that. I think it is. For his video ads. And the video ad is basically him in, a country bar on the dance floor where he's in front of the camera, where he's talking, but then he's actually teaching. I think the video is like 3.5 minutes long or 4 minutes long or something like that. But he's actually teaching. It has the video of him dancing with somebody, going through a couple of real super basic moves. And so he's using the video to introduce himself. He is teaching on the video. So he's teaching people a couple of different moves. And then he's saying, then he gives a call to action where if people want more information, if they want to keep learning and learn other moves and subscribe to the channel and stuff like that, then click the link in the video, click the link in the ad, and they can opt in for that free information there. So he's doing extremely well. It's a great use of video ads.
Awesome. Really cool examples. So everyone out there, go try your Facebook video ads and let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear about that. I want to just ask one last thing about Facebook ads, and then I'm going to, I've got a few questions about podcasting actually, because I know you have two podcasts, but you wrote an article about how I think it's Facebook is moving to a 1 pixel ad model. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that means. So maybe you can describe that and then maybe explain why this is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are recording this in mid-May. As of mid-2016, as Facebook has put it, there used to be two different types of pixels. What Facebook and people call it different things. People have called it a custom audience pixel, a retargeting pixel. Facebook is essentially calling it a Facebook pixel now. And we would use that pixel to build retargeting audiences. So if people are coming to, for example, you mentioned before, Dan, that you were running an ad to a blog post. Well, you can build a retargeting audience of people who are coming to that blog post and then retarget them with another ad to try to get them onto your email list, for example. Well, that's where the Facebook pixel would come into play. And then and it still is the case, but Facebook is doing away with it. They had conversion tracking pixels. So they had separate unique pixels, I should say, to track conversions. So you would put, a conversion pixel on your opt-in thank you page so that, it marks the fact that somebody opted into your email list or your webinar registration thank you page or your sales thank you page. So we had a conversion tracking pixel that you'd place on the thank you page to mark the conversion. Well, Facebook is doing away with those conversion tracking pixels and going to just the one Facebook pixel to build your retargeting audiences. So the Facebook pixel is going to go in your website's theme so that you're tracking the entire website, and then you can build individual retargeting audiences from there. Then, in order to track conversions now, there's two different ways to do it. Number one is you add what Facebook calls a standard event code into the Facebook pixel. And you can do that. And then you would choose that Facebook has 9 standard events like registration, for example, or lead or purchase, that sort of thing. So you take the standard event code, enter it, you put it inside the Facebook pixel, and then that code is what goes on your thank you page now. So it's replacing the different conversion tracking pixel. There's one Facebook pixel. The other way you can track conversions is using something called custom conversions. And basically all you have to do for that is use the URL of your thank you page. And you tell Facebook, okay, Facebook, when somebody lands on this page from my Facebook ad, that's a conversion. So you don't have to add that additional standard event code in there. So for everybody listening, if you're using conversion tracking pixels and the Facebook pixel, we're doing this in mid-May right now. Facebook has been kind of vague as far as what mid-2016 means, but we are quickly approaching that. So I would make sure that you understand, how to fully use the Facebook pixel, as well as starting to migrate things in your own Facebook campaign over to the one Facebook pixel.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. That was a little dark on that topic. So I want to just talk about podcasting for a little bit. You have two podcasts, and I think a lot of my listeners may enjoy your podcast as well. One is called Inside Social Media. The other one is The Art of Paid Traffic. Can you give us a quick 30-second setup on each one of those and, what the listeners can get from each?
Sure. Yeah, Inside Social Media was my first podcast. I started that in January of 2014. And that was basically what I decided to do, was kind of combine my corporate background with social media. So I interviewed the heads of social media from some of the largest brands around the world. And we talked about what they're doing in social media, what's working for them, but also how small businesses can model what these big brands are doing, like Red Bull or Ford or whatever it might be, McDonald's. And so, I did that for about a year and a half or so. And that podcast is still absolutely available. I think there's like 52 or 53 episodes there. I still get a lot of feedback from people on it, but I don't work on that podcast anymore. In January of 2015, I started the Art of Paid Traffic podcast, which is my current podcast. And we talk all about paid traffic and how to use paid traffic, how entrepreneurs and small businesses can use paid traffic to grow their business. So obviously we talk a lot about Facebook ads, but we talk about YouTube ads. We talk about sales funnels. We talk about metrics and reporting, Instagram, you name it. We talk about it when it comes to how to use paid advertising to grow your business. And, it's a combination of solo episodes. We do case studies. I have a lot of guests on the show to talk about different types of things. So yeah, it's so much fun because I love talking about this stuff, and the podcast has done extremely well. So I'm really happy about it.
That's great. Yeah. And I've really been enjoying doing my podcast as well. Doing it for about 2 or 3 months now. I wanted to ask, did you have any particular experience with radio or audio, or so you just jumped in clean slate?
Perfect example is when we started talking here, you said I sound a little bit loud, and like you asked me or something, did I want to turn down something? I was like, I have no idea where I would do that. I have a really basic setup. I have a 4-channel mixer that I really have no idea what the settings on there are. Mm-hmm. I got the settings from Pat Flynn, who's a buddy of mine. And I said, back when I first set this up, I said, can you take a picture of your mixer? And I just modeled it after that. And I have it. I do have a mic. I use an Audio-Technica ATR 2100, mm-hmm. which is like, I think it's like 70, maybe it's like $60, $70, something like that.
Yeah. It sounds great.
Thank you. And my favorite thing of all that I use, is probably the most expensive, is this. I have a boom arm for the mic so that I can move it around here. Yep. I forget how much that thing was, like $120, but I would say that's my, like, just from an arm here, like the boom arm, it's my favorite thing because I can move the microphone around. But I have a super basic setup and I have no audio background whatsoever.
Yeah, I later found out that sound issue was my fault. I have I've got a program called Here for the Mac, which I can EQ all my sound sources. So I'm listening to Spotify, I can EQ it because there's no EQ in Spotify. But I was a musician and have an audio background, so I sort of had an advantage there. But in terms of all the other stuff like the feeds and everything, I referred to that same exact guide that Pat Flynn did. For like the RSS feeds and all that kind of stuff. So that was very helpful. So that's exactly how I set my first one up. That's to set up Inside Social Media. I just followed that guide. I went step by step, went through that thing, set it all up. And then, obviously when I set up Art of Paid Traffic, it was a lot easier, but I just followed that guide and I texted him like, hey dude, I don't understand this. He explained it to me and we're good to go. That's awesome. So I wanted to ask about your podcast because I was looking at one of them in iTunes and you have over 100 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
And I think that was on Inside Social Media. Did those come about organically? Did you do anything proactively to acquire reviews? I'm kind of torn on this to be honest. So what are your thoughts?
So I've kind of shifted my thinking when it comes to asking for reviews. Now on the Art of Paid Traffic, I do throw that in there. Honestly, when I don't really have another call to action, when I'm not, when I'm not promoting something else, whether like, hey, I have this free webinar or a download or something like that, I will ask, I will let people know, hey, I do ask them, but I put it in such a way like, hey, if you're enjoying the podcast, one way for you to support the show is to simply leave a quick rating review on iTunes. It takes 30 seconds to do it. I always say leave an honest rating review. I'm not telling people to leave a 5-star. I want people to leave, whatever they think is right. I think I have 154 5-star reviews, I think, on the Art of Paid Traffic, which, really grateful for. I explain to people why that's important, to let them know that iTunes takes it into account, when ranking the show within iTunes. But the bigger strategy that I do is if somebody reaches out, if they tweet me, if they email me, Facebook message, whatever it is, and they're commenting about the show, or on Twitter, if they're sharing one of the episodes, that sort of thing, I try and always respond to them with a, hey, would you mind leaving a quick rating review? Because that person is super engaged. I mean, they're sharing your content right then and there. And that has worked extremely well. So I'm interacting with them personally. I'm thanking them. And then I'm also asking them, hey, could you do me a quick favor and leave a quick rating review for the show over on iTunes? It's a huge help. And that works really, really well.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Pat Flynn actually did that to me. And I had been listening to his podcast for 5 years.
Oh, really?
Up until that point, or maybe 4 years, and never left a review. And when he finally did that, because I tweeted something to him on Twitter, I went and left a review like 5 years later. Yeah. So it definitely works. That's great. I like your philosophy too, because I feel kind of uncomfortable really getting aggressive or directly or running those contests or whatnot to get reviews. That's not really my approach. So I'm glad to hear that, your approach is a little more organic as well. I also wanted to ask, and this might just tie back to the relationships you had from corporate and whatnot, but how you got some of your guests, because some of these are, pretty high profile in the marketing world. You got Gary Vee, Amy Porterfield, the social media manager from Whole Foods, from I think an NBA sports team or something. So were these all relationships prior to when you started your show?
Not at all. I mean, Amy Porterfield was, yes, but like, people like Scott Monty from when he was at Ford, I didn't know any of these people. So the way that I approached it when I was starting inside social media was I just brainstormed a list of the brands that I'd like to have on there. And at the time, I think it was like, Ford and McDonald's and JetBlue. And I wanted, I'm trying to remember a brand that was on the top of my list, but they said no. They're based in up in Santa Monica, California. I forget who it was, but anyway, they were like, no, Nike was on there, Starbucks was on there. Yeah. So I basically just made a list, and then it's a matter of, okay, who's the right person that I wanted to talk to? Well, ideally, I wanted to talk to the top person. I wanted to talk to the head of their social media marketing. And so then it was a matter of researching who those people were, things like LinkedIn and so forth. And then I crafted an email that I sent out. I remember this. I sent this out to like 5 different people, and not one of them responded. And I thought at the time it was sort of like I was starting off with the quote unquote easier ones I thought I could get. Right. And I wasn't starting with like a Ford or anything like that. But I decided to send it to Scott Monty, who at the time was the head of Ford's social media. And I was like, I kind of went into it thinking, this guy's never going to get back to me. I have a brand new podcast. Why would he be on the podcast? I don't have any other guests at that point. And so to my surprise, he got back to me within like 24 hours. And he was like, yeah, I'd be glad to have, or glad to be on the show. And so that was sort of the start, because what I'd done is I tweaked the email. And I don't remember exactly how I tweaked it, but I tweaked the email that I sent to Scott, and I figured, I got a response from Scott, with this email format. And I did the same thing for a few other ones, and boom, it started to hit after that. And so what I did from there was I always included everybody all the names, quote unquote, that I was having on the show. Whenever I was reaching out to invite somebody on the show, I was always including those people in the email. Right. So I was giving myself social proof that, hey, Scott Monty from Ford is on here, and Rick from McDonald's is on here. I was letting people know, like, hey, other industry colleagues of theirs are on the show too. So that was giving me social proof. The last strategy I used was I always asked, hey, is there anybody else that you think I should reach out to? Any of your colleagues that you would recommend? And if they said yes, I always asked them permission if I could use their name in the introduction. I didn't ask them to do an introduction, but I did ask them. I said, hey, would you mind if I use your name when reaching out to so-and-so? And that worked really, really well. I had a lot of people who were more than happy to help out with that. So it was a gradual process, but once I got momentum, then, I had a lot of people, it became a lot easier to get people on.
I love those two strategies. I've used those a little, but not really paid close attention to which ones worked or not. So I think the fact that you mentioned those two specifically, I'll probably circle back to those. And for all the listeners too, by the way, this isn't just for podcast guests. This could be for any sort of outreach that you're doing. So you can definitely apply it there. And I had one brand that I wanted on the show just say no to me as well. And that's always slightly heartbreaking, but it happens.
Well, I mean, just an example there. I mean, you never know the reason that they're truly saying no to you. Starbucks, for example, was one brand that from day one, I wanted on that show. And they never got back to me. And I finally found the right person there at Starbucks that, if I remember correctly, they said to me, I would love to be on the show. If it were me making the decision, I would be more than happy to come onto the podcast, but we actually have a corporate policy against it. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, they're not saying no to me I mean, they're never saying it's ever a personal thing. Right. But, they just had a corporate policy against it. So you never know what the reason is that they're saying no. And we should never take it personally.
I think that's what happened here. The company was King Arthur Flour.
Oh yeah.
And I found the writer who used to be an author that I really want to interview because she runs an amazing community over there. And I found her email address through some secretive research processes, which I'm sure throws some people off because they're like, how'd you get my email address? But I emailed her very friendly and, was hoping to get a reply to have their PR department write back to me with a very similar, I think probably, although they didn't explicitly say it, probably a similar reason that maybe they just didn't allow that. So that was a little frustrating to email a person and then have somebody totally different right back. But
yeah, I got that a lot too. I definitely got that a lot. And I don't know if this is a tool that you're talking about when finding email, because people are always like, well, I don't know, how do I find their email addresses? Well, Gmail has a great plugin, if you will. It's called Rapportive. Yep. Rapportive. I think it's free. But it just adds on to your Gmail, and it will, when you have the email address, when you have the correct email address, it'll populate their LinkedIn information right next to your Gmail email box. So if you don't know what their email address is, you can start typing in different combinations of it, like first name at company name, or first letter of their first name, then last name. You can just start typing. I did that so many different times to find the right combination. Yep. And then it's like, finally it's like jackpot, it populates there. So Rapportive is a great tool to use for that.
I think you'll love this tool. It's called Voila Norbert, just like it sounds. Voila. Okay. It's a really cool tool, like the branding, but all you do is you plug in the person's first and last name and their domain. And then it goes in, it's free for you can use it 20 times a day or something. And it works probably 75% of the time. Other times the company blocks it. And a trick I've used is to do their name and then gmail.com as the domain name. And then it pops up there too. So a little tip for people looking for email addresses. But Rick, this has been a really fun interview, learning about Facebook ads. And we're almost up for time, but I wanted to have you tell the listeners where they can go to find you. And then I know you've got some products and things they can download. Where would you like to direct the listeners?
Yeah, well, the podcast, as we were talking about, is called The Art of Paid Traffic. So that's on iTunes and Stitcher, depending on what type of device that you're using. And then the website you mentioned before, Dan, thank you, is rickmulready.com. So you can go to that to go to my site, hop on the email list there, all kinds of content coming your way. So those are the two best ways.
Great. Thanks again, Rick, for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll see everyone next time on Experts on the Wire. Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning in to episode 21 of Experts on the Wire. I want to encourage you to follow our guest, Rick Mulready, on Twitter. He is just at Rick Mulready. Of course, you can catch all the show notes at evolvingseo.com/wire. And don't forget to check out the email list. I will send out probably 2 to 4 emails a month, giving you advance notice to who's going to be on the show, so you get your chance to submit a question and get it in on the show. So go check that out as well on the website and fill out the form. And I'll see everyone next time on episode 22, where we're going to have something a little bit different on Experts on the Wire. See you next time. Thanks.